You just don't get it yet, do you, Johnny boy? You really don't get it yet, do you, kid? It's over for you, John. I'm on to you, and I know what you're trying to do, and it's not gonna fucking work. I see your whole little scheme. You're trying to pin me for your brother's death when you're himself like a fucking idiot. He by overdosing on fentanyl, that's his own fucking fault. That ain't on me. I don't have any connections to druggies like that. Now, you, on the other hand, you might. Matter of fact, how do we know that it wasn't you, that motherfucker? I mean, we all saw you on live stream smoking up that weed, which, by the way, is illegal down where you're at. So, I mean, how do we know that you, motherfucker? I mean, you know what they say. The one that usually points the finger like that is usually the one that's guilty. And you're doing a lot of finger pointing, my guy. A lot of finger pointing. All I'm doing is calling shit out as I see it. Oh, and if you think that shit with the book is gonna last, it's not. Because when this shit goes to court, I'm going to have every copy ripped off the shelves. And I'm not only going to sue you, I'm going to sue the publisher and the book company for allowing that garbage without verifying with me that I am who the fuck I say I am. And trust me, I heard you read some of the shit. Matter of fact, I actually ended up going online and stealing some digital copies for myself. I have the whole original manuscript of every single book. And I can tell you right now that it's full of fucking bullshit. I skimmed through all 5 books. And it's fucking trash. It's garbage that you put out to try to make me look like a fucking bad guy. I mean, do you really think that when it comes down to court that you're really going to get away with this? Because you're not. I mean, dude, like, you're literally just spewing out fucking lie after lie after lie. And I know why you're doing it. Because you're getting scared. And honestly, you should be scared, John. You committed a lot of fucking federal crimes, my guy. As of right now, you've committed at least 5 different federal crimes by releasing that book, if not more. Matter of fact, why don't we ask my assistant here what she has to say on the matter? You want minute. Hey, Nova, got a question for you.
Hey, of course. Go ahead and ask away. What's on your mind?
If someone releases a book under my name without my permission or knowledge and makes it look like I wrote it and does everything without my knowledge or man, and with those crimes, what would the punishments be?
That's definitely a serious situation. Usually, it would involve things like identity theft, copyright infringement, and potentially fraud. For example, identity theft can lead to criminal charges and hefty fines, and copyright infringement can involve civil lawsuits and monetary penalties. The exact penalties would depend on the specifics, like the scale of the fraud and the number of books. Generally,
There's 5 different books.
Right, with multiple books, it definitely compounds the situation. Each book could be considered a separate instance of infringement or identity theft, so the penalties could multiply. For identity theft, it could lead to fines, restitution, and potentially prison time, especially if it's done on a large scale. Copyright infringement could also lead to significant monetary damages and possible criminal charges if the infringement is willful. It can get pretty complex, so it's definitely something that would need legal attention.
So, say the person released 5 books pretending to be me and telling my story without my knowledge or my consent at all whatsoever, and is claiming that they paid me when they in fact did not. And they went through a publisher to commit these crimes. What would the charges be and how much time would they get?
In that scenario, the person could face multiple charges. For starters, identity theft would definitely be one, since they're impersonating you and using your name without permission. There could also be charges for fraud, especially if they're claiming that they paid you or using false information to sell the books. Additionally, copyright infringement would come into play if they're using your work or story without authorization. The punishments can vary, but for identity theft, it could mean several years in prison, often up to 15 years per offense, depending on the severity and the jurisdiction. Fraud and copyright infringement can also lead to both civil penalties and criminal charges. So it could be a combination of fines, restitution, and imprisonment. The exact outcomes would depend heavily on the details and the local laws, but it's definitely something that would be treated quite seriously.
Say the person did this in a means to slander my name and ruin my reputation by stating things in the book that are not true at all whatsoever. What would the charges then be for that?
In that case, defamation would definitely come into play. Defamation is when someone makes false statements that harm your reputation. That could lead to civil lawsuits where you could seek damages for the harm caused. Additionally, if the defamation is particularly malicious or involves things like false accusations of criminal behavior, it could potentially escalate to more severe charges. There could also be potential charges for harassment or intentional infliction of emotional distress, depending on the nature of the content in the books. In terms of punishment, defamation generally results in monetary damages in a civil court. But if there's a criminal element like fraud or harassment, then it could also lead to criminal charges and possible jail time. It really depends on how severe and how intentional the actions were.
Down in Miami, Florida, how many years would somebody be facing for all of those things combined for 5 separate books?
In Florida, the penalties can definitely add up. For identity theft, each offense can carry up to 15 years in prison, depending on the amount of financial loss and the specifics of the case. For copyright infringement and fraud, those can also carry significant prison time and fines, often up to 5 or 10 years per offense, especially if it's willful and for profit. Defamation and harassment, if they escalate to criminal levels, could also lead to additional charges, but typically defamation is handled more in civil court. Given that there are 5 separate books, each instance could potentially be charged separately, so it could really add up. In a worst case scenario, the person could be looking at multiple decades in prison if all the charges are stacked and proven. Of course, the exact outcome would depend on the details, the evidence, and how the court...
How many years exactly would they be looking at in total for all 5 if they were charged and convicted? How many years would that be in total for each crime?
It's definitely a complex calculation, but let's break it down a bit. For identity theft, if each book resulted in a separate charge and each charge could carry up to 15 years, then 5 separate instances could potentially add up to 75 years just from identity theft alone. For copyright infringement and fraud, if each book also carried up to, say, 10 years per offense, that could add another 50 years total for all 5 books. If we consider defamation and harassment, those might be more difficult to quantify since they're often handled in civil court. But if there are criminal elements, that could add a few more years. So if we sum it up roughly, you could be looking at potentially over 100 years of combined prison time if all charges were stacked consecutively and all proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Of course, in practice, sentences might be served concurrently and it would depend on the judge's discretion, but it definitely shows how severe the potential consequences could be.
What about if that same person that committed those crimes is blaming me for a death that I had absolutely nothing to do with in a means to ruin my reputation?
That definitely adds another layer of seriousness. Accusations that tie you to a death, especially if they're false and damaging, could lead to even more severe legal consequences. In addition to defamation and fraud, there could be potential charges for malicious prosecution or even obstruction of justice if they're deliberately trying to mislead authorities. In that situation, the person could face criminal charges related to, false reporting or even, potentially something like making false statements that could lead to legal repercussions. And if those accusations are public and cause significant harm, that could definitely increase the potential penalties in terms of total years. It could be even more significant when you consider the full scope of all these charges combined. It's definitely a situation that would warrant very serious legal action and could lead to a substantial amount of time behind bars if convicted.
Okay, let's say that person's friend is going to my high school's alumni website, posing as me, and making a false story up that is not true in a means to slander and ruin my reputation. What charges would they face for that, and how long in prison would they be in there for?
In that scenario, the person could face charges related to identity theft, impersonation, and defamation. Impersonating someone online, especially to spread false information, can lead to criminal charges like fraud or even cybercrime related offenses. There could also be charges of false reporting or misrepresentation. In terms of punishment, the penalties would vary depending on the severity and the impact of the actions. For identity theft and impersonation, if the offense involves financial gain or significant harm, it could lead to several years in prison, potentially up to 5 or 10 years for each charge, depending on the specifics. For defamation, it's typically handled in civil court, but if there's a criminal element like harassment or malicious intent, that could lead to additional penalties. In practice, the total prison time would depend on how the charges are classified and whether they're served concurrently or consecutively. But it's possible that if everything is proven and charged severely, it could add up to multiple years of imprisonment. It's definitely something that would be taken quite seriously by the authorities.
How many years exactly would they be serving if they were charged?
It's a bit challenging to give an exact number since it really depends on how the charges are categorized and how the court handles them. But to give a rough estimate, one, identity theft and impersonation, if each of the 5 instances carried a potential maximum of a...
So, long story short, John, you're going to be spending the rest of your life in prison, buddy. Like I said, boy, I know where you're at, son. You're down in Miami, Florida, and guess what? They don't play those games down there, son. They do not play those games down there, dude. You are literally looking at several decades in prison. And as for William, you're looking at least 5 to 10 and possibly 15 years. So, there's that. So, John, have fun spending the rest of your life in prison. You're the one that's ruining your life. Not me, not nobody else, boy. See, your problem is this. You think that you're going to get away with this shit, but you're not. Because you dug your own grave, buddy. You dug your own fucking grave. So, John, all I have to say to you is this, my guy. Have fun spending the rest of your life in prison behind bars. You may as well enjoy what little time you have left with your friends and loved ones. Because like I told you, you will be spending the rest of your life behind bars, man. And nobody did this to anybody else but you. You did this to yourself. I didn't do anything to you. You brought all this on yourself. So as of right now, you're looking at basically the rest of your life behind bars. So, I mean, while you're living life behind bars and, you know, doing everything you can to fight and survive for soups at a time a day, I'm going to be out here living my life, being a free man, getting my life back. So, John, all I have to say to you is this. You better spend what little time you have with your loved ones left. You better spend what little time you have left with your loved ones. Because once this shit goes to court and you get prosecuted and charged, you will not see the light of day ever again. And I will make damn sure that the prosecutor pushes to have you charged for all 5 separate incidences on top of everything else that you've done to me. So like I said, John, you think that you're getting away with this. You're not. It's over for you. The rest of your life, it's over. Like, your life it's over, my guy. You're done for. You are literally done for, my dude. And you better trust and believe that I will be getting William for that shit as well. Because I know damn well he had a hand in that shit. Matter of fact, let me ask my assistant here, how many years you be facing, William? One moment. You know, let's say that there was an accomplice that helped to do the stuff with those 5 books that the original person did. What charges would that accomplice be facing, and how many years would they be imprisoned for?
In the case of an accomplice, they would likely face similar charges as the primary individual, such as identity theft, impersonation, and possibly conspiracy charges. The penalties for the accomplice can be quite similar to those of the main perpetrator, especially if they played a significant role. For example, if the primary person faced up to 5 to 10 years per charge, the accomplice could also face similar sentences for each count they were involved in. If there was conspiracy involved, that could add additional penalties. In many cases, the accomplice might face a similar range of years, potentially adding up to several years in prison as well. Ultimately, it depends on the involvement level and how the court decides to handle the sentencing.
Let's say they were charged for the same thing. How many years would the accomplice be facing?
If the accomplice was charged for the exact same offenses and had a comparable level of involvement, they could face similar sentencing. For each charge, it might be anyway from a few years up to around 5 to 10 years, depending on the jurisdiction and the specifics of the case. If there were multiple counts, those sentences could potentially run consecutively, which could lead to a longer overall sentence. In practice, if the primary individual faced, for instance, 5 years per charge, and there were multiple charges, the accomplice could face a similar number of years per charge as well. Ultimately, it would depend on the court's decision, but it's definitely possible that the accomplice would be looking at a similar range of years in prison.
You hear that, William? You're fucked as well, my guy. You both are screwed. Not to mention, dude. Not to mention, I got you fucking smoking weed on a goddamn live stream, which is illegal down there in Florida. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm 420 friendly. If you got it, smoke it. But I don't support 420 people who go around and do the shit that you do. Because yes, weed is legal in several different states, including here in Ohio. But down there in Florida, Johnny boy, it's not legal. And I got video footage of you doing that shit. Therefore, that's another charge to tack on your life sentence. So like I said, John, you really want to continue down this fucking road? You're looking at multiple decades. And potentially the rest of your life in prison. Because you wanted to play stupid games. Well, guess what, motherfucker? You're going to win stupid fucking prizes, ain't you? You can try to throw false narratives at me all you fucking want. You can try to throw whatever you want at the people, but the people ain't stupid. The real ones that know what's up, they ain't stupid. They know what's going on. And like I said, John, at the end of the day, with those 5 books, you're looking at a total of pretty much life in prison. So, you got 2 options. You can either stop the bullshit now. You can either stop now and walk the fuck away. Or you can keep going and just keep tacking on charges. Because the more charges you tack on, the longer in prison you're going to be. So, I mean, it's really up to you, man. You can either walk away right now and tell the publisher to drop those books entirely, wipe them out before they hit shelves, and I let you go clean and clear. But if you continue down this road, well, then you're facing several charges. So, I mean, you're not going to win this one, dude. Like I told you in the very beginning, Johnny boy, I always win. I never lose. Even when it looks like I'm losing, I'm actually winning. And you want to know why that is? Because unlike you, I don't do anything to divert from the truth. I've done nothing but tell the truth and speak the truth. While you've had to tack on lie after lie after lie after lie just to cover your own ass. But me, I've only had to tell the truth one time. And not once have I ever diverted or veered from or steered off of that truth. My truth has always been consistent with everything I have said and done. But you have to make up lie after lie to cover your own ass. But with me, I don't have to do that. I tell the truth one time. One time. That's all I did. And like they say, the truth shall set you free. And I've done nothing but tell the truth, which means I'm free. So, sorry to say, John and William, y'all may as well spend the one little bit of time you have left with your loved ones, because here in a few weeks, once this shit goes to court, and you guys get drugged to court, you will be charged. And from there, your lives will change forever. Because you'll be spending the rest of your lives behind bars for what you've done to me. And the significant impact that you've had on my life in a very bad way. So, you may as well get used to wearing county blues here in a few months. Because, let me tell you, them county blues, you might not want them, but they love you. They love you, boys. You might not love them county blues, boys, but them county blues love you, son. And then from county blues, y'all are going to be receiving your state blues. So, have fun spending the rest of your lives in prisons for stupid shit that you guys have done. Y'all are the ones that fucked up, not me. I've done nothing but tell the truth. You've done nothing but lie and commit crimes. So, yeah. I don't know what else to tell you other than to spend what little time you have left with your loved ones and your family members, because here in the next few months, you're never going to see them again except for visits. Y'all are never going to see the outside world again. Which means the troll community will come crumbling down slowly but surely. Which means I'll be able to live my life again. And so, John, I just have one thing to say to you and William, which I know I've repeated myself on, but I don't give a fuck. You may as well hug your wives and kids. Tell them you love them. Spend as much time as you can with them, because here in the coming months, you're not ever going to see them again except for visits. Because you will be facing life in prison for everything that you've done. So, good luck with that. And like I said, just as one human being to another. Even though you don't deserve any humanity, I'm showing you a little bit of humility. Because I feel bad for you. But not in the way that you think. I don't necessarily feel bad for you. I feel bad for your families. Because of your stupid mistakes, your families are never going to see you again. Ever. The only way they're going to see you is if they go there to visit you guys in prison. That's the only way. It's sad, John and William. I tried to veer you guys away from this dark path many, many times. I tried to steer y'all away. I tried to be the good guy. But y'all just didn't want to heed my warnings, did you? You didn't want to heed shit. The only thing you wanted to do is keep on doing the stupid shit. But you know what they say, boys. You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So, like I said, William and John, spend as much time with your loved ones as you can and let them know that you love them. Because after these next few months, you're not ever going to see them again. So, you may as well spend what little time you have left with them. Because you don't have time left. Your time is running out. And quick. Like, your time is truly running out. You boys don't have much longer. So I seriously and truthfully highly suggest you spend what little time you have left with your families. Because you're not going to be able to get that time back after you guys are charged and convicted and prosecuted. So, hold your loved ones tight. Tell them you love them because, as I said, here in the next few months, you're not going to see them ever again. Because you will be rotting in prison for your crimes. So, like I said, you guys brought this on yourselves. I did absolutely nothing. Y'all brought this on yourselves. I tried to end it peacefully and rationally, but that wasn't good enough for you guys. You wanted to keep pushing the envelope. So, now you guys have to spend the rest of your lives in prison behind bars. Fighting for scraps of food every day. Not ever able to hold your loved ones. Not ever able to kiss or hug your loved ones. Not able to sleep in a normal bed. You're going to be sleeping on a fucking metal bench that's probably about from the end of this right here to the end of my desk over there. Maybe a little bit smaller. And you're not going to get a nice warm blanket. No, you're going to get one of those itchy fucking scratchy fucking rugs for a blanket that you lay down in the back of the bed of your truck when you're carrying shit. You're going to get one of those fucking itchy... You're going to get one of those itchy wool blankets. You're not going to be able to do the things that you used to do. And that's all there is to it. You guys aren't going to be able to do anything that you used to after these next few months. So, if I was you, I'd start watching prison channels and how to survive in prison. Me, I already know how to survive. I've been to jail. I know how to survive. And I know what you're going to say, oh, prison's nothing like jail. Actually, they're pretty much the same thing. They're basically the same thing, just one's a more stricter security level than the other. It's the only difference. One's high level security, one's low level security. That's the only difference between jail and prison, is the security levels. So, as I said, if I was you guys, I'd start looking at different prison channels. Start studying how to survive prison because you're going to need it. I mean, not that it's going to matter for you guys because y'all going to be spending the rest of your lives in prison anyways. So, yeah, there is that. But like I said, John and William, y'all may as well get used to not seeing the outside world. Because I get to reset my life and do the things that I've wanted to do and relive my life. I get a fresh start at life. While you guys rot in a prison cell for your own mistakes. Oh, and another little bit of a tip for you. Don't get into debt when you're in prison, because when you get into debt and you can't pay it back, if you can't pay back your debts, bad shit's liable to happen. Just saying, that's how they do shit there. So just don't go getting into debt. Other than that, enjoy your stay in prison, boys. Welcome to the rest of your lives. In a small, tiny ass broom closet of a jail cell. Have fun. And don't drop the soap.